Hi guys, it's Vishnu here from Kailash. Very good afternoon to all of you. So I hope you're all doing well and good. Okay, so this video is going to be the continuation of the previous video, which is how the position affects the relative strengths of the pieces. We went through a couple of examples last time and we will go through more examples and in this video as well as in the subsequent video before I jump to a new concept. So let's directly get into the position. You can clearly see that white is down in material. White has a rook on e6, a pawn on f5, a pawn on g6 and the king on h5. The king is advanced, whereas this white king is far away from the enemy king and the pawns, so it cannot catch up with the pawns. So the only pieces to defend are the rooks and the bishop, the rook and the bishop that black has got. So how can white win this position? He has got two connected pass pawns. So what I mean, I have already explained what does pass pawns really mean. Pass pawns are pawns that cannot be stopped by the pawns on the same side. For example, if there was a black pawn on g7, then the g6 pawn would not be called a pass pawn. And if there was an h7 or f7 pawn, still this g6 pawn would not be called a pass pawn. Well, now you can see that there are no such pawns on either sides, that is the adjacent sides, as well as on the same side of that pawn. So clearly this pawn is free to queen, and so this g6 pawn is called as a passed pawn. And the f5 pawn is another pawn which is supporting the g6 pawn, and that is also a passed pawn. So it is clearly called as a connected pass pawns. If a bishop is obstructing its way, it doesn't mean that you can't call this a pass pawn. It is definitely called a pass pawn. It has to be pawns which are blocking its way. Only then you cannot use the term passed pawns. Else, if any piece is blocking the passed pawn, then you can definitely call the pawns passed pawns. In this case, it is connected passed pawns. So in this endgame, how should white win? The answer is simple. He just have to sacrifice one more piece, that is his rook for the bishop. Rook takes f6. Rook takes f6. Now his f5 pawn is under threat. You can push g7 and rook f5 check, king h6. And I think that would not be the right move, because black can still hold on, or at least he can keep his rook for a queen, and it will take more time for white to win. But here the correct continuation is to play king g5, support the f5 pawn. Now this rook has to move. It will move to d6. Now you can play g7, threatening to queen on the next turn. So black decided to come down to d3 and go to g3 and give a check and control the g8 square. So he played rook to d3. White continues with his plans of advancing the passed pawn. So f6, supporting the g7 pawn and also threatening to queen on the next move once again. Rook f3. Now if you queen, the problem is you have rook g3 skewer. So this is called a skewer. So you are not supposed to queen on this turn because of the skewer. Because after you queen, the king has to move to h6a. Then rook takes g8. King h7. Rook moves to f8. King g7. Rook. Say that you move the king forward. f7. Rook a7. King g8. And then it would be a draw. So you wouldn't want to give up a half point that way, because you can win this position. So after rook f3 is played, you're not supposed to play g8 queen. Instead, you're supposed to move your king forward to g6. Now you are threatening g8 queen, because even after rook g3 check, now you are threatening g8 queen, because even after rook g3 check, you can play king to f7. Rook takes g8, rook king takes g8, and you still have one more pawn left, and black has nothing left. f7, f8 queen, and you can win the game. So rook g3 check, king f7, and that's it. White wins this game. So what I'm saying, trying to convey through all these examples, is that it by no means mean that if your opponent has got a superior material, he has chances to win. Of course, in general terms, superior material, if you have superior material in general sense, it means that you have got an upper hand, but not always, because in chess it also depends upon the position, that is the role of the pieces that are playing in that particular position. So it definitely needs to be taken into account where the pieces have been placed, how is the arrangement of pieces, and then finally decide who is actually superior based on the position. So let's take a look at another example now. Okay, now this is an endgame position. Materially both are of equal value, 3 pawns each. Bishop is normally considered as equal to a knight. So bishop versus knight. But who is actually better in this position, guys? Who is actually better? Materially it's equal. But by looking at the position, whom do you think is better? I would definitely say black is better, because this position is a closed position. I say it's a closed position because this bishop on e3 is blocked by its own pawns. So its diagonals are not open. So when do you say, what do you mean by a closed position? A closed position is a position where you don't have lines or diagonals for your bishops, your queens, etc. Especially when it comes to the end game, when it is against bishop versus knight in game, you definitely have to see whether you have got a closed or open position. Suppose you say that you have a bishop, and if it's a closed position, if your own bishops are blocked by your own pawns or the enemy pawns, then it is going to be difficult, because the lines, diagonals won't be opened up, and the bishop will be immobile. It doesn't have many squares to move. Whereas that is not the case with the knight in a closed position. The knight's advantage really plays a true role, will play a great role in closed positions, because a knight jumps from square to square and it changes its color with every move. For example, knight can go to a5, which is a dark square, and then come to c4, which is a light square, go to d2, which is a dark square, go to f3, which is a light square. So similarly, with every move it keeps changing its color. And an open position is a position where the bishops have, diagonals open freely, free open diagonals where it can move freely, and its own pawns are not blocking its path. So that's called an open position. So if you want a good position with your bishop, then see that you have got an open position. And if you want a good piece if you want to play well with a knight, then see that you have got a closed position, especially your opponent, because in closed position you can play with your knights pretty well. So let's have a look at this game, and coming back to judge this position. And this position, why I'm saying black is superior is not just because white's bishop is closed by its own pawns. It is also because of the key square called c4. c4 is a key square. Key square means a very important square for both of them, for white and black. It's important for white because once he gives up the c4 square, he would lose. And vice versa, if black gains the key c4 square, he would win the game. The idea of coming to c4 is that if the king can reach on c4, he can attack the d4 pawn and then snatch this pawn with the help of the knight. So when the king is on c4, you know that these squares would be under the control of the black's king. All these squares. And so the white king can be nowhere near it. Only the bishop will be supporting the d4 pawn. And there are two pieces attacking and there is only one defender. So you can capture the d4 pawn. And then it is sure that white will fall, because his rest of the pawns will also get snatched sooner or later. So in order to achieve that, black first plays knight a5 check. He wants to move this king away. He wants to move the white king away from the c4 square. Now it is on b3, it is controlling the c4 square. So king moves to c3. Now king comes to f4, a4. King has entered white's territory. Bishop f2. White has no much moves to play. Knight c6. Bishop e3. Knight a7. Idea is to come to b5. The idea is to come to b5, check the king, and so that you can gain control of the c4 square. The king can come near and gain control. Bishop f2, knight b5, king d3, king b3. Now you're only just one move away from giving one more check. So imagine you can also move your knight through. You should maneuver your knight to b2 or b4. Maneuvering means going. This is the goal. b4 square is your goal. So you have to make a series of moves to achieve that objective. So say, how do you get to b4? You have to first come from c6 or a6, and that can be done by d6, c8, e7, c6, and then b4. Or there are many other ways too. You can just think and find it out. This is one such example. I just want to explain the idea so that you're clear with the concept. So I hope you're clear with this example. So this is one example. Now let's take a look at another example. I just made a small change from the previous position. I hope you can see the difference. In the previous position, you had a dark squared bishop and the pawns were blocking your own path. In this position, you have a light squared bishop. Now you are attacking black's pawns, especially the d5 pawn. And all these are placed on light squares and your bishop can move on light squares. So the problem now here is black cannot win because one of his pieces always will have to defend on the d5 pawn. So white can at least fetch a draw with this position. So I showed you this position in order to understand that. See, now this is an open position for white because he has got diagonals open. e2, he can go to a6. If he stays on this diagonal, he can attack the d5 pawn. If he comes to d3, if the knight is far away, and he can sacrifice on bishop f5, gf5, g6 and push the pawn forward. So there are a couple of ideas like that. So this position is equal. I feel it is equal. Let me put the analysis on. Let me add a engine and just check whether it's correct or not. Let me see what the engine says. Yes, it is dead equal. I was right. So, like I said, you can't win this. Black cannot win this position because even with a knight, even if he achieves give a check or d3 or e3, coming to b4 or b5 check, the king can stay on d3 and e3, and this bishop will maintain its position on this diagonal and always be a threat to the d5 pawn. So the king cannot move. He has to always be on c6, d6 or e6. So, and you can't snatch this d4 pawn with just one piece. You need one more. You need one more attacker. So that's not possible. So that's why this game is going to be a draw. I hope you understood this example. Also, I would like to say that it is by no means I want to convey an idea that having a superior material doesn't mean you will never get a good position or a winning chances. Of course, having superior material means you have got winning chances, but it's not always, because these are some exceptions and you need to take the position into account. So beginners always have this fear of knights. That's why I gave that two examples. So if you are afraid of the knights, what you have to do is just see the squares to which the knight moves into and control those squares. Now in this example, who is actually superior, guys? Is it white or black? Both have got passed pawns. Both of them, white is 3 moves away from queening and black is also 3 moves away from queening. But who is actually better? Who has got the upper hand? I would say clearly white has the upper hand because this white bishop is much stronger. This white bishop is much stronger than this knight because it's completely controlling this diagonal. So you can't move the pawn to a2, and if the king has to come for its defending this, king has to come forward to defend this a3 square and a2 square, and to push this pawn to a queen. By that time, this white pawn would have queened. So there is no time also for black because it would take more time for black to support and get the queen. And even if it reaches to, you can simply sacrifice the bishop on g8 to a2, and you can win with one queen versus knight. So if knight goes to d3 here, the idea is to jump into the black's territory, come to e5 and then come to g6 and control the h8 square. So that will not work because white is not going to allow that. He would play king f5. And that's it. Nothing can be done about it. Simply white is going to win this game. Say if I king f5, a3 is played, I can play h6, knight to c5, h7. What can you do to stop the h8 pawn from queen, h7 pawn from queen? Nothing, absolutely nothing. You can't even give a check to the white king. Absolutely nothing can be done. So clearly, white wins this position. So I hope you understood the relative strength of pieces, guys. This concept. I'll be covering one more video on this in the upcoming class, in the upcoming sessions, in the upcoming days. So I'll be uploading one or two more videos. So that's it from me for today. I hope you all enjoyed this video. In case you did, please give a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks a lot. It's Vishnu signing off from Kailash. Bye. Take care of yourself.